There is so much chatter on the internet right now about the possibility that Dodge could reintroduce a V8 into the new Charger platform. Much of this is centered around the fact that we have recently had an administration change, and that may signal more favorable conditions for emission standards that would allow for a V8 to go back into the car platform that so many people have grown to love. Well, for anybody who hope springs eternal for that, I would say, like, don't hold your breath. And you have to look at it from Dodge's point of view. Why would they bring a V8 back to put into this car when the Hurricane inline six engine that they've developed is more power dense? And think of it in these terms. The old 5.7 liter that was in the cars, because there's two, one that was in the cars and one that was in the trucks. The car variant made 370 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. You know, that new standard output Hurricane 6 is making 420 horsepower, which is a full 50 horsepower more, and 470 foot-pounds of torque, 70 foot-pounds more. That is a ton. But you can also look at the high output variant. The 6.4 liter naturally aspirated V8 that it's replacing in the cars was making 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque. The HO variant of the six-cylinder is making 540 horsepower. That's 55 more horsepower, but it's making about the same torque, about 25 foot-pounds. But at these kind of numbers, are you really going to split hairs? Yeah, most people do split hairs over 25 pound-feet of torque. You see what I'm getting at? If you did put a V8 into that car, level for level, it would be slower. Now, let me give you another example. You know, we talked about that Ram variant at 395 horsepower because it is more powerful than the car variant, primarily due to a variable runner intake manifold and some changes in the tune to go along with it. But if you look at the performance difference between the Rams with the 5.7 and the Rams with the standard output Hurricane 6-cylinder, the 0 to 60 time favors the 6-cylinder. Quarter mile times favor the 6-cylinder. Matter of fact, the 6-cylinder will hit a speed limiter before it hits a quarter mile number. That is impressive. And so it speaks to the level of performance that these new engines have over their older, and some would say antiquated, naturally aspirated V8 counterparts. So what would be the reason to go that route? Well, there's a couple of big and good reasons to put a V8 into that car. One is marketing. Let me tell you something, whether or not the engine performs better, there's always going to be a group of folks that want a V8 over any kind of a 6-cylinder, even if it's less powerful. Look at what Ford has done with the F-150. The 5-liter Coyote that is offered, the only V8 that they do offer for that truck, is not the most powerful of the group and is not the quickest runner of the group, at least not on regular gasoline. But most folks buy it because they prefer a V8. And if the market demands a V8, then the V8 is going to be produced for as long as there's demand for it. And I think that's where Dodge is really missing the boat. If they are not going to put a V8 in that car, they're going to be giving up a pretty significant chunk of market share. Because Dodge buyers, and this is the second reason, are keenly interested in the vintage nature, the nostalgia of a V8, the heritage of the V8 engine in a muscle car, which is what the Charger has to be considered as. So for a lot of folks, it's not about the power, it's about the sound, the noise, the way that a V8 delivers power with that instant torque hit that they're interested in. Magazine numbers don't really cut it for these folks, and for those folks that would be buying your cars, they won't be without that V8. So what would the V8 need to be? Well, it couldn't be one of the pushrod V8s. Those things simply will not pass modern emission standards, and realistically speaking, unless we're talking about the 6.4 liter, they just won't offer up performance that would match or even come close to the Hurricane 6. But what if Dodge were to develop their own version of the Coyote V8? Something between 5 and 5.5 liters. Well, this was teased upon back in around 2014, 2016, but it didn't really go past any of the very short-lived rumors that were out there. But that is what they would have to bring to the table, a new take on these types of engines. But it would have to be all aluminum and lightweight, because these Hurricane 6 engines and the Coyote V8, by the way, all share the same weight of about 445 pounds. And this is a big difference here. Now you're talking a power difference, but you're also talking about a weight penalty that you have to pay for those V8 engines. Unless they're aluminum, you might as well just leave them on the shelf, because the weight does make a difference. The balance of the vehicle, everything else is going to rely on what that engine is made of, not just the power that it can produce. So, in looking over it, Dodge would have already have had to have this new Phantom 4-valve, all-aluminum, 5-point-something liter V8 in development. It would have already had to have been going through torture tests on dynos, and it would have to start just now getting ready to go to the EPA and get all of its executive orders signed so that it could be fit for public consumption. And so far as any of us can tell, none of that is happening. So, again, for the foreseeable future, there ain't going to be a V8 to be found in one of these new platforms unless somehow or another they work some kind of behind the scenes magic and get one of the 6.4 liters to kind of slide into that platform. We'll see. But until then, I'll be looking forward to see what this new power plant performs like in this new car. And if a V8 comes, I'll be even that much happier. But so far as I can tell, ain't happening. Post up your comments. We'll catch you on the next one.